Okay, how many of you have eaten meat this week? You can raise your hand. Okay. So, EC, have you not eaten meat this week?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Okay, so unless you're a vegan, I'm assuming that you've all eaten meat this week, as we just saw. Also, even if you're a vegetarian, you probably had some sort of animal product this week. Now, do any of you know where that came from? And I'm not talking about Ralph's or like the calf or the soar, like where it actually was raised. No ideas. Okay. Well, more than likely it was raised on a factory farm. In fact, according to mercyforanimals.org, written in 2015, their problem page, 99% of all of all animal products in the United States are produced on factory farms. So that's a lot of the food that we eat. Now, factory farming is an incredibly cruel process, and it needs to end. And to end it, ag needs to be repealed. Now, you may not know what any of these things that I'm saying is, and that's okay because I'm here to enlighten you. So, in my speech, I will tell you what factory farming is, how it's abusive for animals and humans that are involved, why not much has been done about it, and how you can change this. So, let's imagine together, where do you think your food comes from? Likely something like this. The animals roaming in a pasture, pigs rolling around in mud, all outside, all happy, right? Head nods, maybe not. Okay, on the first speech, pretend like you're listening. Okay, so, unfortunately, this is not where our food comes from. And what comes next is a little bit gruesome, so if you don't have a strong stomach, maybe don't watch. But I feel it's the most effective way to teach you guys what factory farming is. So, meet Jenny.
Good pen I can borrow.
Your sound is not on. There's no sound. That's
Okay.
It's fine.
Stop time.
I think it's on mute, dude.
No, it's not. I muted it and it still wasn't making any sound.
It should be working. Oh, that's it.
Oh. So, more than likely, the meat that you've been eating has lived a similar life to Jenny, the pig meat that you've been eating anyways. So, that being said, where did this type of farming come from? Well, in the 1950s, according to Jamina Uralda, this type of farming was started because big business started buying up farmland in order to mass produce farm products, farm animal products. So these businesses are like McDonald's, Carl's Jr., KFC, because the fast food industry started, therefore they needed a lot of meat and a lot of cheese and things like that. So, according to a New York Times article by Nicholas Kristof, they not only started mass producing these animals and treating them badly and abusively, but they also started genetically modifying them to create what specific parts of the animal they wanted to eat. So they genetically modified chickens to grow large breasts and to mature in only 5 weeks, because what part of the chicken do you eat? Chicken breast most of the time. They also, according to Factory Farming is Fouling Our Food, started genetically modifying dairy cows to overproduce dairy milk, because how much milk do we drink as Americans? So much milk. So these cows are constantly pregnant and constantly producing massive amounts of milk that are extremely unnatural. So they abuse these animals and they genetically modify them to make them mass produce animal products that we consume every day. moving on to, so these factory farms after the 1940s no longer were focused on animal husbandry as farming had been before. So the thought that was if the animals were thriving, then the producers were thriving. Instead, these animals were just seen as a product. And as Fiber, Ostro, and Lavelle said in their article, big business started treating animals of factory farms as mere products in preparation for human consumption. So their lives didn't matter to them anymore. It was just how much of these animals can we produce so that a lot of people can eat them. Now, factory farming is not only detrimental for the animals, it's also detrimental for the humans involved. And the humans that are involved are the people who consume the meat, so you guys, the people who work on the factory farms and live near the factory farms, and the people who own these farms. So first of all, according to Jonathan Anomaly's Public Health Ethics article from 2015, half of the world's antibiotics that are produced are given to factory farm animals. So this is one of the reasons why chickens can grow so fast. And this causes chickens to break their legs because they can't support themselves and also to have heart attacks. So that's how it's abusing the animal. But it's also abusive to and harmful to humans because when we eat factory farm animals that have been given all these antibiotics, it grows antibiotic resistant bacteria within the animal that causes illnesses like E. coli. So every time we bite into a piece of factory farm beef, we run the risk of getting E. coli from it. Also, and that was from Washington Post 2008, farming takes a huge toll on human health and the environment. It also hurts the factory farm workers and the people who live near these factory farms because of the toxic gases that they have to spray on the animals and in the barns, and also the dust created by the animals and having them all so close together. And thus, overall, health-wise, it hurts the people who eat them, which is you guys, and the people who work on and live near these farms. Lastly, like I said, it hurts the farmers who own these farms because they have no say over how the animals are treated. You may assume that they're to blame for the harmful treatment, but instead it's the big businesses I mentioned before, because as the New York Times article by Nicholas Kristof again from 2016 says, these farmers are actually modern-day sharecroppers. They're getting the birds and the feed from these big businesses, and they can't protest or anything about it because they'll take away all of their products, and then they have nothing. They have an empty farm. And also in his article, he says that like a KFC 12-piece chicken dinner is about $30, right? The farmer sees about 1% of that. That's less than the amount of tax that they put on that KFC chicken dinner. So the farmers are abused, the people who eat it run the risk of becoming sick by antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and the people who work on and live near these farms are exposed to lots of toxic gases that can also make them sick. So, after hearing how abusive these factory farms are to the animals and to humans, you may be asking, why hasn't this been stopped if it's been going on since the 1940s? That's a good question. Probably because these big businesses have a lot of power. So they have facilitated the enactment of laws called ag-gag. Now, according to a New York Times article called Eating with Our Eyes Closed from 2013, they define ag-gag as laws that make it illegal to gather evidence by filming or photography about the internal operations of factory farms where animals are raised. So, it's literally illegal to talk about what goes on in factory farms. There are 6 states that currently have these laws on the books, according to the Humane Society of the United States. And these are Alabama, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, North Carolina, and Utah, as you see here. And in Utah, according to Fiber and Ostro and Lovel's article that I mentioned earlier, Amy Meyer in 2013 was the first person arrested under the premise of these ag-gag laws. She was across the street from one of these meatpacking plants, and she was videoing what was going on there, and a slaughterhouse manager approached her and asked her to stop. She was arrested. She was charged with these ag-gag laws, and eventually the charges were dropped, which was good, but the willingness and speed with which she was accused and prosecuted just go to show the strength of these ag-gag laws and the strength of these big businesses and how adamant they are to keep what goes on in their businesses behind closed doors. So, this may sound pretty hopeless, that there's okay, anyways, so this may sound pretty hopeless, but I promise you that it's not, and there are things being done about it. In fact, the Humane Society of the United States, as I mentioned before, has places where you can donate money to them to help their investigators stay in the field to investigate what's going on behind these factory farms and expose them to the horrors that are going on behind their closed doors. But the first thing that needs to be done to stop factory farming is exposing ag-gag and getting them out of the government or out of law. And to do this, you can go to aggag.org and sign their petition. They're a thing called Stop Ag-Gag, and they are part of a coalition currently that's fighting the newest ag-gag law that was enacted in North Carolina in 2015. And by signing this, you're stating that citizens have a right to know about how food animals are raised and slaughtered, and that you're against ag-gag. So as a review, factory farming is harmful for the animals, humans, and environment, and needs to be stopped, and the first act to stop it is by stopping ag-gag. And the next time you eat a piece of bacon, think of Jenny then.